Okay, we're officially done with deer season here in Michigan, so we're going to start switching gears and we are going to start concentrating on small game, rabbits, squirrels. We're looking at probably a pheasant hunt coming up pretty soon, too. So, that is going to move us into changing some equipment and switching over to flu arrows. And that's what our video is going to be about, today's flus. So, just to give you a little quick rundown on flus, let me take a couple of them out of here. They don't need to be in there because it's just repetitive. Well, we have, this is a 6-fletch, and this is a 3-fletch that we have here. We abuse our equipment quite a bit. And this is what they call a spiral wrap. And this is what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to go over some of the benefits and the differences between some of them here real quick before we get into that. Your spiral wrap and your 6-fletch will fly approximately at the same speeds. Not 100%. Your 3-fletch will fly the fastest, just because there's less drag. Now, the difference is let's just say we are pheasant hunting. Pheasant hunting is you want an arrow that's going to pop out there a little faster, a little bit more speed behind it. 3-fletch is perfect for it. And that depends on the weight of the bow that you're shooting, whether you're shooting a recurve or a compound. All of these can be shot out of a compound, especially if you have a drop-away rust. They work real well with drop-aways. I also have used the 6-fletch and the spiral for pheasants. The biggest thing that you want to get figured out is what shoots the best out of your bow. Anything's going to shoot out of it. Anything can shoot accurately out of it. The problem is your distance. So this thing, if you shoot this at squirrels, you're probably going to fall within the 100-yard mark. Okay? If you shoot one of these at squirrels, your arrow's probably going to drop within 60, 70 yards, maybe even shorter, depending on the weight of your bow. So that's just a kind of a rundown. Now, another thing too is with these spiral wraps, you can see I got 2 different colors in here, so there's 2 full-length feathers that are wrapped around here. And if you just use a single wrap, you're probably going to get closer to the speed of this, although probably a little bit slower. When they're spiral wrapped, there's a lot of drag. And the more feathers that you add to it, obviously, the more drag. I also use 4-fletch. Generally, I use even raccoons. I believe it was a 4-fletch that I used to shoot this raccoon with. Okay, so now I will get into fletching 3, 4, and 6-fletch flus in a different video. Today we're going to try to concentrate a little bit more on the spiral. We tend to use these quite a bit more often, especially for rabbits and squirrels. We'll use a 2-feather spiral fletch. What you're going to need for that is some full-length feathers. We have full-length feathers here. I get most of the time I get full-length feathers from True Flight Feathers, and I order the ones that are specifically made for spiral fletching. You can use them for just standard out of a fletching jig to do the 4, 3, 4, 6 fletch, but what they do is they grind the quill down very thin. Like, this is probably a third of what a regular quill is on a just say a parabolic cut feather, or a shield cut feather. So it's ground down very thin, so it makes it a lot more pliable, easier to wrap. Okay. Now, you can, and I will do a video on this in the future also. If you are a turkey hunter and you have turkey feathers, the wing feathers, you can do your own. Obviously, they tend to be quite a bit darker. They're not bright like the yellow and the red are like this. But there is a indent on the back side of the feather, and you literally stick a knife down in here and draw that through, and you will split this feather. And then what I normally do is take a couple pieces of board that are used for like shelves, so they got the sharp 90-degree edges on them, and then you can clamp it on both sides of this, and you can sand it down, and you're going to want it, the length of the feather, and then you can sand it down to as thin as you want to, as long as you've got something that the glue is going to adhere to on here. It's pretty much all you need on it. So that's just I'll do a video on this at another time. What you're going to need, other than the full-length feathers, is you are going to need a rag or paper towel, some either isopropyl alcohol or mineral spirits to clean your shaft off, and you're going to use contact cement. Now, I have fletched, see here, the wooden arrows. Generally, if I do wood or if I have extra aluminum arrows sitting around, I just use regular fletching cement. Boning normally is what I use, is the boning cement. Then I have used super glue, and super glue obviously works really good, especially going onto a carbon shaft. The problem is it's messy, and you're going to need to hold either with your thumb or somehow hold down the quill as you're wrapping it, and I've glued my thumb to my arrow several times over the years. So I generally tend to just stay with the contact cement for doing any of my spiral wraps and flues. They hold very well. I've never had one start coming undone on me. So I just continue to use what I use. I am going to get a different camera angle here. I'm going to set up a second camera and get a different camera angle so you can get a better look at what I'm doing. And then I will be right back and we'll get this put together. Okay. Hopefully this works. Take my glasses off to be able to see my settings on the camera. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take and you're going to throw some alcohol on whatever you're using for a thing here, for a rag, and then you're going to clean the snot out of if you sand these, which is, you're more than welcome to sand them, you're definitely going to want to do this several times, and then just let that dry off, and that's what you want to hear. Hear that squeak? You want to hear that squeak coming out of them. Squeaky clean, that's what you want them. Okay, now, I'm going to let this dry for a minute. Okay, the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your contact cement and you are going to paint the entire back end of your arrow. And generally go about where they have, the factory wrap on here for, tells you your size and all that. So you're just going to take that and you're just literally going to paint the whole back of your arrow. You don't have to be stingy with it. A lot of it goes a long way, but still don't be stingy. You want a good even coat all the way across the whole shaft. Make sure we're not getting glob down here. there. All right, then we're going to set this over here. We're going to let it dry. You want to let this dry up for about 15 minutes, or until just barely tacky to the touch. And the next thing you're going to do is I want to make sure that these feathers are at least close to the same length. And the reds have been coming out just slightly longer than yellow, so I've been trimming them both down to that. Grab a knife. All you're going to do is you're going to find the length that you're looking for, and then you're going to just take it through the quill, or the spines of these feathers here. I don't know what they're called. There's probably a scientific name. And then you're just going to pop them off even. Do it up there in my holder so Julie don't shoot me later for cutting up her table. But then you got two feathers that are close to the same length. They don't have to be exact by any stretch of the imagination. They got to be exact. Then you're going to simply take contact cement, and you are going to brush the end of the quill. The whole idea of contact cement is that you've got two surfaces that have the glue on it, and then it's pressure after that. We're going to go ahead and paint this all the way down here. And you don't need a ton on here, but you definitely want it coated with a nice even. Alright, now we're going to set these off to the side and let them tack up for about 15 minutes. Get this other one done here. Well, so I'm not boring you, I'll probably fast forward through some of this. All right, and we're going to set this one over here. We're going to let that one tack up for about 15 minutes. And as soon as those are tacked up, I'll get right back with you. Okay, it's been roughly 15 minutes now. So what we're going to do, we're going to take our arrow and whatever feather color you want to start with. Now these are right wing feathers, so they're gonna wrap backwards to the right. So this way, from the front of the quill. Now I have seen people who I have no idea why they do this. They start with the front of the feather at the back of the arrow. Makes no sense to me because all you're doing is snapping everything. If you shot that and it hits your rust, your riser, anything, it's snapping everything backwards. So my suggestion is if you see that on another video or something, don't do that. Start with the front of the quill towards the front of the shaft. So anyways, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna here. While I was taking my 15-minute break, I had to get my Hunter's Blend coffee in my cup that I'm beating the snot out of. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to take your feather and you're going to start it right at as close to the end of where you painted the glue on it. Okay, and you are going to just simply stick that on there and hold it with your thumb, and then you are going to start wrapping your arrow, or I'm sorry, start wrapping the feather around, and you want to leave, I don't know, roughly a ½ inch in between them. And if they seem like they're going to start wrapping over themselves, then you're going to want to just pop the quill a little bit and they'll open up. So roughly a ½ inch between them, because we're going to run the other feather through that. And once you get that, you know, the pressure put on there, it'll hold itself. So you are just going to keep popping them back as you're going. And then when you get to the very end, just hold it. And you only want to move at this point, you only want to separate these enough that they're not laying over themselves or they're not laying in the glue, because you still need to get the other color wrapped around there. And you're just going to hold it. Then we're going to take the second color feather. I'm going to open this up a little bit here. Just a little bit. You're going to go about 180 degrees to the other side of your first feather. And hold that down for a minute. Get the pressure on it. And then you can start, whoops. I didn't quite hold it long enough. And then you just start wrapping this color in between the spirals of the first color. And once you get a wrap or two on there, then you can let go of where you were holding it at the end, and you can just start spinning it. Just make sure that you're staying in between the previous flutch. And it really doesn't matter the orientation. You know, if you gap a little bit too far on one, not enough on the other, it's really not going to make a difference. Might look a little crappier, but it's not going to make a difference on the flight whatsoever. I don't know if you can see, but I started kind of tight at the beginning and then it just kind of opened up towards the end, but we're not really giving too much of a bother with it. It's still going to fly perfect. So, all right. Now, once you got this at the end of it, if you have some regular fletching cement or a drop of super glue, definitely hit both the front of both quill feathers and the back of both feathers. Where the quill is laying on the thing, that'll help hold it. You're shooting into brush or anything like that, it'll help immensely, will help hold everything together. Alright, now once you got this part, you're just going to start separating them. You can start grabbing the feathers, lightly grabbing them, and start pulling them apart. And if you don't want to do this step, don't do it. Once you start shooting it, it's all going to pop them out. And like it'll separate them quite a bit once you start shooting. But if you just want it to start looking pretty now, just go ahead and start separating them. I'll get a tube of glue. I don't have one sitting here in my box. They're out on the back porch. But that's it. That's a spiral fletch arrow. This thing will, I mean, we'll be using this for rabbits, squirrels, anything. They're perfect. Here's another one. Get the other one. So you kind of, two of them, and you can use any colors, any color combinations. There's like, True Flight makes just about, I mean, there's even a mix-up of some of them in here. I mean, there's pink and red and yellow. These were just out of separate bags that I bought, and I just threw them all into one. And, you know, don't discount turkey feathers. I mean, if you find a handful of turkey feathers, or you get your turkey this spring, or if you killed a couple in the fall and you still got the wing feathers to them, don't discount these, because they're, I mean, these are cheap. These are free, right? or as close to it as you can get. Way cheaper than purchasing pre-made arrows. I was just looking online. I think the 6-fletch Carbon Express, if you buy it on online, prices are like $17. I mean, for some extra arrows you got laying around, or some old arrows that you got laying around, and a turkey feather, or 50 cents for a full-length feather, that's way cheaper to do it yourself. And another thing too is I'm gonna start doing some videos on here of building your own equipment, putting your own stuff together, tuning your bow, things like that. You really need to learn to do for several different reasons. You take. I feel like when you learn to work on your own bow, you take a little bit more pride in what's going on. The prices of having your bow worked on are going through the roof. If you don't mind paying the prices, which I'm not knocking any pro shop whatsoever. Every pro shop I know does a damn good job of working on your bows. I would never say not to go to a pro shop, but you learn to serve your own bowstring, build your own bowstrings, build your own arrows, different things like that. You take a little bit more pride in what's going on. I've been building arrows, bowstrings, different things like that since I was probably 12 or 13 years old, and you get a sense of pride on things that you start building yourself, working on yourself, and so those videos will be coming up pretty soon. I've got some more editing to do. I've got our raccoon hunt coming up, being put together, being edited right now. I took our original show and I added all of the old footage that never made that particular episode. So I've got full feature length, if you want to call it that, coming out. I've got both my doe and my buck hunt from this year. They'll be coming out. Had some issues with camera equipment, stuff like that, so I'm working on how to work around that to make it worth watching, I guess. So if you enjoyed this whatsoever and you're listening to me babble, would you please subscribe and hit the like button? It'd be very much appreciated. And until then, our next video will be out hopefully here just shortly.